What is up, y'all? Carson here, bringing you another video talking about the NBA here. So, obviously, championships over, finals are over. We're getting to the offseason. Means lots of changes, trades, free agents. We have the draft coming up here. I think it's like Wednesday and Thursday this week. But before we get to that, I just kind of want to go through some possible changes that are coming this season, and our good friends over at Bleacher Report put together a little article that I kind of want to go through, so let's get going with that. So this is written by Grant Hughes, um, kind of just talking about 5 different situations, teams that are going to be breaking up or just changing throughout the offseason. Let's get started. Milwaukee Bucks. We have Malik Beasley here. So he was a 77-game starter, and wow, 186 million committed to 10 players. They're gonna be in the second apron. So in case you haven't noticed or heard yet, the second apron, the new rules that they're putting together with cap and all that, is actually ridiculous. I was listening to Zach Lowe talk about it on his podcast the other day, but it's like if you're in the threshold of the second apron, you cannot take back or yeah, you can't take back any extra cash or like cap. Like his example that they were talking about like a Jimmy Butler for Paul George trade. And because those guys make similar money, both their situations seem like they're not really gonna work out. We've been hearing things about Jimmy Butler not really liking the situation with Miami anymore, and Pat Riley obviously made comments about him. And then Paul George, everything's looking like he's not going to re-sign with the Clippers and that he's going to end up going elsewhere. And basically they were talking about how that trade wouldn't work because Jimmy Butler's contract is like $0.001 million more than Paul George's. So since like it's more, the Clippers can't take that back because they're in the second apron. So it's something to really think about this offseason with these new rules being implemented. And I think they were saying there's about 6 of the teams in the league that are in that situation where they can't really take back any extra cap. So yeah. The most they can give Beasley is $4 million. Coming off a career best 41.3% shooting from beyond the arc. Wow. Obviously we know that's what he does. Like Beasley is a shooter. Orlando Magic is a clean fit. I don't know if I agree with that. They're I don't think he fits their time frame. Of course, like if he was younger with and I could fit and grow with those guys, that would be great. But at the end of the day, that's not his role. Like he's a veteran in this league at this point. Even though he is a guy that can fit into most any situation, just because he's gonna guard a little bit, but he's mainly there to spread the floor and just kind of knock down shots. But I don't like the Orlando Magic fit. I think they need to continue with what they have going with like Jalen Suggs, Cole Anthony, and Anthony Black. He had a decent rookie year. I really like 76ers a lot more. He would really help them in situations like this year against the Knicks in the playoffs. The 76ers didn't really have anybody else to go to outside of Maxey and Embiid, and he would kind of give them a. I'm not saying he's going to be a third option on their team or anything, but just more so if they need a bucket, he's a guy that can go and get a bucket, and also he's just super reliable, like as catch and shoot. As we see, he shot 41% from 3 this year. Next up, 76ers. Just talking about him. Let's see. Tyrese Maxey's a virtual lock to return on a max contract and restricted free agency. I agree with that. He definitely earned that contract. Let's see. No team has potential to undergo more offseason change this year than the blank slate Sixers. Yeah, I agree. One can make a case for some continuity. Kyle Lowry, Kelly Oubre Jr., Nick Batum, D'Anthony Melton, Buddy Hield. I don't. My opinion, I don't want Kyle Lowry being a starting point guard on a team that's trying to contend anymore. I think he's kind of he's past that age. He would be great as kind of like what CP3 is doing in Golden State right now, where he's kind of coming off the bench and working with that second unit, being a mentor still, like still being still making an impact. Like I'm not saying he can't make an impact, but like he's not. I don't think he's a starting caliber player at this point in his career on a contending team. Kelly Oubre, he did great. He did great in the playoffs. Buddy Hield, I don't know if Buddy Hield is going to come back, man. He went there because he wanted to try and win and have a bigger role. And then he kind of got benched in the playoffs until he had that one big game against the Knicks. But I I like the fit, but I don't know how he feels after everything that went down. Yeah, like they're saying, they're not locks to return. Even Tobias Harris makes sense if the Sixers can get him back at, say, a little less than half of last year's $40 million pay rate. Yeah, Tobias Harris gets a lot of hate for being on such a huge contract and never making an All-Star game. But at the end of the day, like he's a solid player. He's just not worth the contract that they gave him. I think if they can get him back for about $20 million, even 25, because like there's nobody this offseason that is like a superstar really. We have Paul George, who's not he's not a free agent, but he can, or I guess he's a halfway free agent. He can opt out, but I think a situation with Paul George would be more of a sign and trade. But I think Tobias Harris is still a good fit for them and can still help them and contribute to what they want to do. Sixers' enormous $62 million pile of cap space is dwarfed only by their ambition to use it on splashy outside signings or trades. One way or another, huge chunks of that cash will go to players who weren't on last year's roster. I hate that. I hate that. I'm a Knicks fan. I do not like Philadelphia, but Joel Embiid gets a lot of hate and criticism for not making it past the first and second round in the playoffs and all that. But at the end of the day, he's never had like consistent teammates around him, consistent coaches, right? Like his team, it's a revolving door with him. Like there's no consistency. You can't win like that. You can't. Like look at the teams who have been winning championships these last few years. Nuggets. 2 years ago, the Nuggets won. It took them years to get there. Like they had the same core for 3, 4, 5 years before they won a championship. The Celtics, they've been going after it for 6 years now. You can't just keep on changing the players you have and coaches you have over and over again. You have to set a culture, and you have to establish relationships, connections with the players and people in that locker room. And I don't like always changing everybody on the roster. Of course, you have to make changes every now and then, but not drastic ones. You can't lose your entire team. Pelicans, obviously, we have Brandon Ingram here. The last few years, we've been hearing a lot of things about, okay, they're going to have to choose between Zion and Brandon Ingram. And it looks like this is going to be the offseason that Brandon Ingram gets moved. So. Whereas in the past, we've always erred on the side of continuity, our takeaway has been, let's see this group healthy. I think we've seen it enough. I want to be really, really clear. This is not going to be a summer of complacency. It's time to get better. Okay. I love that. I love that. I just don't know what they're going to get back. There's been a lot of talk about like Mitchell Robinson being in a trade package for Brandon Ingram, and I don't know how much that interests the Pelicans. Let's see what they're saying. Jonas Valanciunas is an easy pick as he's entering unrestricted free agency. So I guess that would be a reason to bring in Mitchell Robinson because Valanciunas is leaving. Yeah, and then I guess you're going with CJ McCollum, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, Zion, Mitchell Robinson. That's a solid lineup. Very good defensively, I guess, outside of CJ McCollum, but the other four will be enough to, like, you can hide him. And CJ McCollum, even though he's on a great defender, like, he's going to give effort on that side of the ball. So, Pelicans recent season have fixated on Valanciunas and his limitations as a floor spacer, rim protector, and defender in space. So although New Orleans doesn't have the resources to sign a replacement, it remains difficult to imagine the team entering next season with him back at the 5. Obviously, we have a strong possibility of Brandon Ingram. I could see them both being moved, honestly. if Valanciunas, if they're bringing in Mitchell Robinson in a trade, that would be for Brandon Ingram. Valanciunas walks, and you're filling in that 5 spot, and then you have cap space to play around with. You can try and bring somebody else in after that. Ingram's coming off a brutally disappointing playoff performance and a season in which he continued to look like something less than an ideal fit alongside Zion Williamson. The emergence of Herb Jones and Trey Murphy as better options in that role only adds to forces pushing him out. Yeah. I wouldn't say better options necessarily, because obviously I don't think either one of those guys are better than Brandon Ingram, but more so they kind of fit more as to what the Pelicans are wanting to do. The Trailblazers. My prediction on this one is Jeremy Grant's going to be the one that they're saying is going to be leaving, just because he's a lot older than most of their team, and he's the type of guy that a lot of contenders are going to want to try and get. I could see the Mavericks really wanting to get him. So, let's see. A dozen players started at least 12 games for the Blazers. So that's, dear Lord, that's insane. The team's most frequent 5-man unit only saw the floor 234 possessions. Even for a team that traded away a franchise icon and found itself stuck in a bizarre mix of young players and veterans. That's a head-spinning level of lineup. Yeah, it is. Malcolm Brogdon. Malcolm Brogdon needs to be off the team, and Jeremy Grant needs to be off the team. Those guys need to be in a situation of contributing and winning. They're too good of players to be sitting here on a team that is doing nothing. Brogdon, in addition to an expiring $22 million salary into 2024-2025, simply won't get minutes ahead of Scoot. Yeah, like he's a great player, great role player. We've seen what he can do. He's been with the Bucks, he's been with the Celtics, he's been with Indiana, but like, there's no reason for him to be sitting behind guys like Scoot Henderson and Anthony Simons if he was in any other situation. He's doing that because they're a team that's trying to grow, and he's not fitting that. Grant and Aiden are younger than Brogdon at 30 and 26 respectively, but both project to be more valuable to the Blazers as trade chips than actual contributors on the court. I agree with Jeremy Grant. I think DeAndre Ayton could go either way. I don't really know what you're getting back for DeAndre Ayton. I don't know what a package would look like for that. At least off the top of my head. I think he can stay for another year or so and see how it works, how it looks, and all that. And here we have the Lakers. Urgency. Oh, the Lakers. It's such a bad situation. Urgency attends every Los Angeles Lakers offseason, and there might be even more than usual when it comes to improving this roster now that we know the front office isn't going to get its first choice at head coach. Their coaching situation was so weird, man. Like, the whole talk of as soon as the season ended was, okay, we're getting JJ Redick. And then out of nowhere, there was like a week time where they're talking about, yes, we're getting Dan Hurley, we're going for Dan Hurley, we're making a strong push for Dan Hurley, we're offering him a massive contract, long-term contract, all that. And then I was part of the people that were saying I don't like that fit for really either side, but more so for Dan Hurley, because I felt like he was going to be criticized unfairly because he's a great coach. But the situation in Los Angeles isn't good for a new coach right now, I don't think. So I'm glad that didn't work out. They ended up getting JJ Redick, which I'm very interested to see. D'Angelo Russell. Yep. So personnel changes seem inevitable. Yes. Yes. What's more, James and Russell each have player options and could enter free agency. James's return seems more like a foregone conclusion, but Russell's future is hazy. Even if he picks up his $18.7 million option, the Lakers could easily include him in a trade package for a star. And on that point, virtually any deal for a marquee addition would have to involve 2 or 3 Lakers heading out in a single large contract in return. Well, I don't know exactly when this was published, but it came out that LeBron declined his player option. That doesn't mean he's leaving the Lakers. He could be trying to renegotiate or something like that, but he did not re-sign or opt into his final year. I could see, like I said here, it's talking about Reeves and Hachimura combined to make about $30 million. Get back Trae Young, Donovan Mitchell, or another big name. I would, more than those guys, I would like seeing somebody, Trae Young's teammate, DeJounte Murray. I think DeJounte Murray would be a much better fit for them than either of these guys just because he's more open and he conforms better to the play style that the Lakers are trying to do. I think because Trae Young, he's going to need the ball in his hands all the time. We've seen that. That's why this fit with DeJounte Murray's not working because he needs the ball. Donovan Mitchell is less that way, but he's most effective with the ball in his hands. Whereas I feel like LeBron would kind of overpower that. But with DeJounte Murray, I think that's an interesting fit, and that could be a lot better. Well, anyways, that's all for today. Thank you guys very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Also, podcast coming out tomorrow. Link will be in the description. Thank you very much for watching. Peace.